we got to talk about what happened last night. There's been a lot that's taken place today with all of these confirmation hearings, but I think that we need to start out by talking about what in the world happened when an American Airlines plane last night carrying 60 or so passengers, 4 crew members, collided with an Army Blackhawk helicopter carrying 3 military service members over the Potomac in D.C. while the airlines was on their final approach to Reagan International Airport. And at first they said, we think that there are at least 30 survivors, and that quickly changed to there were no survivors. You had divers that were going into the freezing river trying to pull out not a rescue mission, but just a recovery mission so that these people, their loved ones could say goodbye. So the Blackhawk, obviously, they said it was conducting a training flight when it collided. There are a lot of questions as to what in the world went wrong. You have this American Airlines flight that's carrying, potential figure skaters in the 2026 Olympic skating team flying from Wichita, Kansas to D.C. and air traffic control staff. I want to go through the preliminary report that just dropped here, okay? Because the preliminary report says that air traffic control staff numbers at Reagan National Airport or International Airport was not normal for the time of day and volume of traffic. Controllers are overworked. They had 19 fully certified controllers as of September 2023, which was well below their target of 30. And then you add on top of that, that you have these new DEI initiatives and policies when it comes to the FAA and air traffic control. So usually you would have in this position, according to this preliminary report, you would have 2 controllers who would handle the roles of, monitoring and directing helicopters near DCA, which we were just talking about this before the show. That's regular. That is a routine. You constantly see helicopters out there. So they usually would have someone, their 2 controllers handling these roles. But when you're understaffed, that doesn't always happen. Now, last week, Donald Trump, upon taking office, he signed this memo restoring excellence and safety to the Federal Aviation Administration, because this has been something that we have seen happening for a very long time. And this ordered the FAA administrator to stop Biden DEI hiring programs and return to, of course, what everyone wants, which is non-discriminatory, merit-based hiring. We just need for you guys to do your jobs so people don't die in a plane crash. This is literally, it's like you had one job. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care who you sleep with. I really don't. I need you to guide the plane captains, the pilots, down to the ground without killing people. That's literally all you need to do. And so obviously Donald Trump signed the executive order. Nothing has had any time to really take place and shake out yet. And so you're looking at Joe Biden's again, we're going to find out what we're going to find out. But regardless of what happened in particular here that we find out, Joe Biden's track record of turning every federal agency into DEI-based rather than merit-based, this is what I keep saying, DEI kills, period. DEI kills. And so Joe Biden, I believe, will own this at the end of the day in his practices. You have the FAA who was, is I believe that they're still in the middle of a lawsuit with their hiring practices because they were not hiring white men who were very, very qualified and passing all of the tests because they were white men. So I've just been sick to death all morning just thinking about this and how it was completely and totally preventable. And it just makes you sick when you see, we've seen the writing on the wall. We've seen, by the way, the FAA administrator resigned when Donald Trump got in office. So they had no administrator at the time that this happened. It boggles the mind that the federal government let it get this far.
Golly, man. I feel like I've lived this life already. Really. South Africa is a takeover and they bring in affirmative action, which is what DEI is. It's affirmative action.
Yeah,
it's a quota system. You can call it DEI all you want. It is by the book affirmative action, which means not the qualified man or woman for the job. It is a political play, and people die. You're right, people die. Preventable. To my understanding, the blackhawk is ascending. When I look at it, the airplane is descending. Someone gave clearance for that blackhawk to take off. Someone wasn't checking. This is absolutely gross negligence. Few years ago, the most stressful job on the planet was air traffic control. The suicide rate was through the roof in air traffic control. Divorce rate through the roof. Life expectancy in that job, very short.
They have to work an insane amount of hours per day.
And you can't miss.
Right.
Because when you miss, people die.
Right.
This is the one place where you don't hire short or DEI. No coincidence that the person resigns when Trump wins, because probably anticipated that the cookie's going to crumble somewhere and people are going to lose their lives. So it's unbelievably tragic. My question is this: who's held accountable? Is there accountability? Surely under this administration there's going to be accountability. But the one that should be held accountable just pardoned his whole family and half of the cabal, and he's got some sort of immunity. That's really who should be held accountable. Is the former president of the United States that did this nonsense. And how do you even reconcile that with families today? It doesn't even matter. Let's say there was accountability. Sure. Let's say they could take the former president and put him in prison. Nothing makes right what there's young people on that plane. It's insane. And then whoever was in the blackhawk, probably servicemen and women of our nation. And that airport, there's choppers everywhere. I mean, constantly. If it's not Marine Force One coming and going,
right,
it's some other military operation of flying test flights or flying routine checks or whatever. I mean, there's Blackhawks all over DC.
Yeah, especially when, Matt, the first pass at what the hell happened, they had said, well, air traffic control said that they were both in the airspace that they were supposed to be in. Well, obviously not, guys.
Yeah, right.
That can't possibly be true. So let's keep digging maybe for the answers here.
Well, I think one of the things that really kind of upset me a little bit last night was people having hot takes immediately on what happened. Like, people have lost lives. It's not an opportunity to be right on Twitter.
That's right.
It's got to end. This has got to stop. You've got to stop with your conspiracy theories coming out with, oh, it's this person, it's that. Just wait. Just wait, because you will find out, right? So that's the first thing. Secondly, I think we've said this literally hundreds of times on the show, certainly since I've been coming on this show and on the news and why it matters. We have said that it's only a matter of time before DEI is going to result in people dying. Clearly what's happened here. This isn't even addressing the DEI hires for doctors. This isn't talking about engineers. Just over and over and over, all these other aspects of our lives where it might not be immediately apparent that because of the DEI hiring process that people have lost their lives. But it's still going to happen because there's no stopping this in colleges. There's no stopping of this in medical school. We've seen it, thank goodness, that Pete Hegseth is in, and he's saying, by the way, you know this, you're a soldier. How many people, if there was a war tomorrow, how many people would die? How many servicemen would die because of DEI hires that the people couldn't do the basic fitness test? They didn't pass the flight school. I don't think it's the case in this instance, by the way. But as you said, Sarah, DEI kills. This is not a joke. It's not some kind of fantasy world. This is reality. And we've been warning about this for so long. And by the way, that includes getting into nuclear war with Russia, right? Because you've got incompetent people giving the wrong advice or they're making decisions based upon criteria that do not matter in the real world. Can you imagine if we hadn't had a change in government?